Imagine this. You're sitting in a courtroom watching the person who destroyed your family show no remorse. They smirk. They laugh. They act like taking your loved one's life was just another Tuesday. What would you do? What happens when grief becomes rage? When justice feels too slow? The stories you're about to hear will show you exactly what happens when ordinary people reach their absolute breaking point. These aren't just courtroom disruptions. These are explosions of human emotion so raw that they shatter our justice system itself. When father Snap Willie Clay Fields watched his wife Angela stand before their son's killer. 18-year-old Willie Antoine was murdered by 19-year-old Lindy Jones in South Carolina, August 2019. Angela's voice cracked. "They took away my only child. My only child." Something broke inside Willie. He couldn't take it anymore. The man trying to hold his family together suddenly lunged forward, desperate to reach the teenager who had destroyed everything. "Sir, back off! Back off!" Officers scrambled, but Willie's rage was unstoppable. Lindy got 35 years, but every second he was free felt like another injustice. The smirking killer, Frank Dillon Jr., was 19 when he shot 16-year-old Diamond Alvarez 22 times on January 11, 2023. In court, Diamond's mother delivered her victim impact statement. That's when Frank did the unthinkable. He smirked, right in front of a grieving mother. The courtroom erupted. Diamond's uncle jumped from the gallery, connecting his fists with Frank. Frank's mother attacked Diamond's mother. Diamond's aunt joined the fight. 3 families destroyed by violence, now destroying each other in a courtroom meant for justice. Frank got 45 years. But was it enough? The death stare. Sometimes the attack isn't physical. Sometimes it's the look that says everything. Jason Wilson walked to that podium in Utah knowing he was about to face his sister's killer. Tristan Lauro had shot 19-year-old Misty, his own wife, in their home on August 23, 2009. As Jason spoke about how the murder had destroyed his family, Tristan did something that revealed his true nature. He rocked back and forth in his chair, appearing completely unconcerned. Here was a man talking about losing his sister, and her killer was acting like he was bored. The death stare Jason gave Tristan could have melted steel. When he finally turned from the judge to address his sister's murderer directly, the tension in that room was suffocating. The deputies were ready this time, but the message was clear. Tristan's 15 years to life wouldn't bring Misty back, but at least he'd never hurt another woman again. The serial killer's mistake. Michael Madison thought he was untouchable. Between 2012 and 2013 in Ohio, he murdered 3 women, treating their bodies like garbage, literally wrapping them in trash bags and discarding them. The details of his crimes were so horrific that when the judge read them aloud, grown adults struggled to listen. Van Terry stood in that courtroom as the father of one of Michael's victims. He looked at this monster who had stolen his child and began to speak about his loss. That's when Michael made the biggest mistake of his life. He smirked, right at a grieving father, right in front of everyone. Van Terry's reaction was instant and violent. It took multiple officers to pull him off Michael, but the message was sent. You can kill someone's child, but don't you dare disrespect their memory. Michael got the death penalty. He's still waiting for his execution, probably wishing he'd kept that smirk to himself. The mass shooter's reckoning. May 14th, 2022. Buffalo, New York. 18-year-old Peyton Gendron drove 200 miles with one purpose: to kill black people. At a Tops Friendly Market, he opened fire, murdering 10 innocent people and wounding 3 others. His victims were grandmothers, mothers, daughters, people who were just trying to buy groceries. In court, the family spoke with a dignity that Peyton didn't deserve. Roberta Drury's family talked about their youngest daughter who would never marry, never have children. But it was Barbara Massey who said what everyone was thinking: I want personally to choke you and leave my fingerprints on your neck. When a family member finally snapped and tried to reach Peyton, the police were ready, but the emotion was real. The pain was genuine. This wasn't just about one family. This was about an entire community torn apart by hate. Peyton got life without parole. He'll never see freedom again. But 10 families will never see their loved ones either. The doctor's betrayal. Larry Nassar was supposed to heal people. As a sports doctor at Michigan State University and with USA Gymnastics, parents trusted him with their most precious possessions, their daughters. Instead, he violated hundreds of young athletes over decades. When the truth came out, victim after victim took the stand. I was sexually assaulted by Larry Nassar when I was 9 and 12 years old, Jessica Tomashow testified. You broke and shattered a lot of girls. But it was one father's story that broke everyone's heart. His daughter Chelsea had told him what Larry did. Mom, he put his fingers inside me and they weren't gloved. He hurt me. In 2009, unable to deal with the pain anymore, Chelsea took her own life. Standing in that courtroom, this father looked at Larry and asked the judge for something that would haunt everyone present. Would you give me 5 minutes in a locked room with this demon? When the judge said no, he tried to take those 5 minutes himself. Larry got 175 years, 2,100 months. The judge called it his death warrant, and she was right. The ultimate betrayal. What's worse than a stranger hurting your child when it's someone who was supposed to protect them? Quinn Bose was 23 when he murdered his own 11-month-old son. An innocent baby who should have been safe in his father's arms instead died by his father's hand. As Quinn was being led away after his 25-year sentence, Jeremiah Matthew Lay, the baby's uncle, couldn't let him just walk away. One punch. That's all he got before the officers wrestled him down, but it carried the weight of a family's devastation. Jeremiah got 179 days in jail for that punch, but some would argue it was worth every single day. The breaking point epidemic. These stories aren't isolated incidents. They're symptoms of something bigger. What happens when grief meets injustice? When love turns to rage? When the system feels too slow for a parent's broken heart? Vashon Flowers shot his wife Jamie over cigarettes. Their son London Thomas lost control during sentencing. Kevin Hall attacked 15-year-old James Douglas Gonzalez when he was only convicted of negligent homicide instead of murder for killing Kevin's brother Edward. Dwayne Smith couldn't control himself when facing his 3-year-old daughter Jamella's killer, Clifford Thomas. The pattern is clear. When you take someone's child, someone's future, someone's everything, there will be consequences that go far beyond what any courtroom can contain. Every punch thrown, every lunge attempted, every death stare given represents a love so deep that it transforms into something else entirely when that love is violated. These courtroom attacks aren't about violence. They're about the impossible task of finding justice for the unjustifiable. The next time you see a headline about a courtroom disruption, remember these stories. Remember that behind every outburst is a family destroyed, a future stolen, a love transformed into rage. What would you do? Really think about it. Because until you're sitting in that courtroom looking at the person who destroyed your world, you'll never truly know. If these stories moved you, if they made you think, if they showed you something about human nature you'd never considered before, hit that like button. Share this with someone who needs to understand that justice isn't just about laws and sentences. It's about real people with real pain. And subscribe to see more stories that reveal the complex, heartbreaking, and often shocking reality of human nature when pushed to its limits. Because these stories matter, these families matter, and their pain deserves to be heard.